Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and we are live here on Facebook, proud member of the Education Podcast Network, housed right in New Jersey, Dr. Rossi, as well as Voice Ed Radio Canada. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and supporting the show. Happy summer. It is August 7th as we record this show here. And thrilled to be on with you. A quick word from our sponsor. If you've been with me, you know IXL is a friend of the program. It is a great online learning platform for kids, teachers at schools, math and science. Great stuff. Here's a word from IXL. Hey, friends. Andrew Murata here, surviving and thriving. And I want to thank today's sponsor for the podcast, IXL. Discover the power of data-driven instruction in your school with IXL. It is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It gives you everything you need to maximize learning, from a comprehensive curriculum to meaningful school-wide data. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments, including NWEA, MAPS, STAR, iLearn, just to name a few. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your ed tech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your school towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, I want to thank IXL for sponsoring Education, Leadership, and Beyond. All right. Thank you, IXL. Let's get rolling with today's program. Joining me in just a couple minutes, Dr. Michael Rossi from Lenape Valley Schools. He is the superintendent. He's been a superintendent for 20 years. My goodness, Dr. Rossi, that's incredible. But a lifelong educator, a lifelong coach, lifelong person, dedicated his life to kids in schools. So excited to talk to him. And if you're a Green Bay Packer fan, tune in, friends, because we are going to talk about Tundra Tales, Dr. Rossi's book here. Excited about that. But reading the book here, I read it a couple months ago, right before it came out. And God, I felt like I was with Dr. Rossi and his family growing up, going to the Packers games. My family was Giants fans. And I remember it just brought back these flood of memories with my parents and my dad and just being with my family. We used to go to Lakewood, New Jersey, Dr. Rossi, and my dad would always drag us there. We'd have a barbecue. We'd eat the same thing at the same time. But these things that we do with our parents, right, growing up, I was fortunate enough, a friend of ours let us use their family home in Shelter Island, New York. We went there for 10 years in a row as my kids were growing. A full week at the beach and all of that stuff. And just the memories, right? So people might say, oh my God, it's all about the Packers. And there is a lot of Packer stuff in here. Dr. Rossi should be in the Packer Hall of Fame. But to me, it was more about that time with your family. So here in the Northeast, we're still in the summertime. I know schools down south, out west have started back. But here in New York and New Jersey, we are still on summer break. Engage with your family. Spend that time with your family. It's so important. And those things, packing the car for vacation and all that kind of stuff, they're so important. And I encourage you, school leaders, teachers, educators, make sure you're making that time with your family because we are so busy during the school year. So, all right, enough of me talking. Let's welcome in the star of the show, today's guest from New Jersey, Dr. Michael Rossi. Welcome, Dr. Rossi.
Thank you, Andrew. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. And you and I got connected through our friend, Dr. Rob Gilbert, another now New Jersey, and but by way of Massachusetts. But Dr. Rossi, you're a school superintendent, Lenape Valley Schools, but really a lifelong educator, and 20 years as a superintendent. God bless and congratulations. How are you recharging this summer? How do you kind of step back a little bit and recharge to get ready for your next school year?
Well, I'll just piggyback on your intro with family. We spend a lot of time together, even though one of our children is now married, has a place of his own, but is local. We just got back from a family vacation. We're beach people. We went to Ocean City, Maryland. Did a lot of just hanging out at the beach, riding some waves, getting some seafood, and just spending time just recharging, as you said. We got a pool in the backyard. We're lucky enough to have a nice little spot out here in rural New Jersey, and spent some time in the pool, listen to some good music, caught a couple Rolling Stone shows. So life is good.
Yeah, you got a little son too. I see you got.
I did get. Yeah, well, I'm Italian, so it worked for me.
Yeah, and I saw some pictures online, and I know we're going to get into the book, Dr. Rossi, but it really, when people say it's a heartwarming story, it sounds corny, right? It was. The stories in the book. I mean, I felt like I was with you. So while it's a love story about the Packers, it really, I mean, it's your family that gets to that. Before we get to that, though, let's talk school. Let's talk shop. I know you just left school, planning your initiatives. You're going into your 5th year at Lenape Valley, correct? Fourth, sorry. Talk to me about planning, Dr. Rossi. How do you plan those initiatives and get ready for the next school year?
Everything stems from our long-range strategic plan. In the first year of my superintendency at Lenape Valley, we engaged the entire learning community, obviously our teachers, our leadership team, the board, parents, students, and we spent the entire year putting together a 5-year plan, and we're now executing that. And every year we set out with some very, very specific measurable goals, and obviously we hope to achieve them, and those are all connected to the strategic plan. So for example, summer we have a retreat, and all the members of our leadership team are there. We're a regional high school, so we are comprised of 3 different towns, Stanhope, Netcong, and Byram Township. They are all K-8 district, and they send their graduating 8th graders, rising 9th graders to our high school. So they attend a retreat in the summer, and we try to bring in some individuals that can motivate us, do some team building, and help us frame out our goals. Dr. Gilbert and yourself came last summer of 23. This just a couple weeks ago, we had Dr. Todd Whitaker, who is just a tremendous presenter, has over 60 books. Indiana professor. We spent a day with him. We spent the next day kind of out in the wilderness, so to speak. We weren't roughing it, but we were at a camp, a YMCA camp location, and we did a lot of team building. And so from there, we develop our goals, and we'll put them together over the course of the next couple of weeks and present them to the Board of Education, and we do them in conjunction with our faculty. So that's how we set the stage for the year. But everything really is connected to the strategic plan.
Yeah. And I heard you talk about that on another podcast, and really, again, getting all those groups in, the parent forums, the student voice. I love how you spoke about the alumni too.
Yes.
Bringing those people back and really driving you forward. Well, good luck, and that's exciting to hear. Again, we're a few weeks away. But you and I got connected, Dr. Rossi, through a mutual friend, Dr. Rob Gilbert. You mentioned him. Success Hotline. Shout out to the hotline, 973-743-4690. That's not in your call. But how did you get introduced to Dr. Rob and start calling the hotline?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned him in one of your books. I believe the book on 100 tips for being a principal. 100, yes, 125. Excuse me. Maybe I am not, I'm getting up there in age. Maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I read that book.
Yeah.
And I believe you mentioned him in it. I could be wrong, but that's my recollection. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And ever since then, I've been calling. I've been a devotee. And so after calling maybe 40 or 50 times, I reached out to him, and because I thought, wow, what an inspiration he is.
He certainly is.
And he's funny, he's engaging, he's thought-provoking. He uses a lot of like acronyms, that things that you can remember. He has a lot of things, mottos and sayings that you can really turnkey into your own, not just professional station, but your life in general. So I've had him at our various retreats. You mentioned my 20th year, so every year I got to plan a retreat. So he's been, I think, 3 different times.
Wow!
But I date back with him now 2016, I believe. So almost a decade. He's a national treasure.
He really is.
Without question. I'm a regular caller. Every once in a while, I'll leave a good message, because he actually, at the end of every 3 to 5 minute monologue, or whatever you want to call it, it's there's a beep, and you could leave him a 60-second message if you want to become part of it. He also has, I don't know, that I would say up maybe like half a dozen to a dozen times a year, he'll do a program. And all you do is send him an email at AOL. I think it's called send me a story at AOL.com, and he will send an invite out, and you can participate in his whatever the seminar topic is for that night. And usually they are at night for an hour and a half, and they're brilliant. I love him. He's great.
Fantastic. And there's a camaraderie with fellow Success Hotline callers. There's a mindset of trying to get better and grow. And I'm happy to be connected with you through Dr. Rob Gilbert. Mike, let's talk a little bit. 37 years in education, 20 as a soup. It's incredible. I mean, that's the definition of longevity. That's the definition of surviving and thriving. And when you're with you, there's a great energy. I felt it when I was there with you. Give me some keys. Give me some takeaways of longevity and continuing to serve at a high level like you're doing.
Well, I think for me, it's been the idea that, it's a serious job. You take the job very seriously, but you can't take yourself that seriously. You're just, and you can't take things personally. I try to surround myself with good people. I think that I'm good at collaborating, and the whole idea that none of us is as powerful as all of us. There are, if I look back, there are points in my career where I faced a lot of challenges, and those, I think, kind of, I've emerged from them a stronger educator, a better person. But I think just going into every single day with the idea that something is going to come up sooner or later that you're not prepared for. Because I was just saying to somebody just yesterday, almost 2 out of every 3 things that I encounter at this point in my career never came up in grad school. I mean, I have a lot of courses I've taken over the years, and they've been valuable. Don't get me wrong, but it's the unanticipated things, and so that's why you need to be a team member. I consider myself a colleague. I rarely make any decision that is not routed through, depending on what it is, routed through, the trustees, our community members, our faculty. I pride myself on being a good listener, especially with the teachers. I've been now 20 years, and I've never had one grievance as a superintendent.
Wow.
Zero.
Wow.
Zero. I mean, there's been a lot of issues that have come up,
Sure.
but I have a standing meeting with the teachers union leadership. We meet weekly. And I think that to the point that as a leader, if you can get ahead of issues, if you can stay on the page, and if you can try to put yourself in their shoes, I do a lot of classroom observations. I've done, I don't have a number, but I will tell you it's north of 1,500 classroom observations in my career.
Wow.
I mean, before becoming a superintendent, I was a principal. Before becoming a principal, I was a supervisor. Before becoming a supervisor, I was a college professor. And basically all I did was supervise student teachers and teach a couple classes. So, those I think are the keys for longevity. But at the end of the day, you gotta love kids. You just gotta feel their energy. And I know it's a cliche, but you really need you just gotta love being around them. And I'm in a perfect location for that now. It's a regional high school. I meet with the student council monthly. The student leaders. I attend lots of. I mean, not every event, but I try to. I'm a big, obviously, supporter of the sports teams. And I think to the extent that when you're doing that and people see you and you can engage with the community that way, when you're trying to roll out a strategic plan or you're trying to get a support for an initiative, they have a tendency to say, this guy is out there for the kids. And so let's try to get behind him. Let's at least hear him out or them out. But it's a lot of different things that, kind of are all in the same, under the same umbrella that, and I say this all the time. I say to the trustees, they are trustees. I say to the teachers, you are teachers. I say to our leadership team, we are leaders for one reason. We have jobs. We have a pension. We have Cadillac medical and health benefit coverage because those kids come to school every day. That's why. No other reason. There's no other reason. So what other purpose do we serve other than creating opportunities and forging as many multiple pathways for these young people as possible?
We should bottle that up. And man, that was a great answer, Dr. Rossi. And you can feel it. I was there with you. And here's Dr. Rossi, been a superintendent 20 years. He invited me to come speak to his coaches. He greeted me at the door, or you greeted me at the door. You walked me up to the place. I mean, it was like I was coming to your home, and it was important to you, and it was just perfect. So what a great answer there, Mike. And similar passions along the lines of education and being passionate. You are a lifelong Packer fan, and this has been a big year for you and a big moment right now in your life and your journey with the Packers because, everybody, Tundra Tales is released. It is out there, and this is your journey talking about the Packers. Mike, so happy to talk to you about this, and congratulations on this book. Friends, if you're watching live, jump in the show, leave a comment, but also check out Amazon. The book is out there, written by Dr. Rossi himself. Tell me about this love affair, Mike, your whole life, and this journey, which now is in a book.
Well, my earliest memories are sitting in front of the television, watching Bart Starr, or I am told, my first actual memory of him is 1970 opening day, but my dad coached high school football for many, many, many years. Both my brothers played at the local school. I was the water boy. So, football was a part of our lives, as was all sports. And I just connected with the Packers. They were probably on TV a lot back then, and in 1972, I got it in my head that I wanted to I wanted to get on the season ticket list. So I got an 8-cent stamp. I wrote a handwritten note. I sent it to the Green Bay Packers organization, and it took 40 years. 40 years. Right now, I think the waiting list is double that. The Packers have been sold out every single game since 1960, if that tells you anything. So that's how it started. Now, all that time, from 72 when they won the division, they lost 16-3 to the Redskins in the divisional round. But from 72, they didn't make the playoffs again until 92, save for the strike shortened season. But I followed them. I never stopped rooting for them. Every year I'd get an update on my place in the list, on the list for season tickets. I went to see them locally as much as I could. And I took my first trip to Lambeau in 1990. And by the way, that game was December 22nd. And with the wind chill, it was 35 below at kickoff.
That was your first game.
35 below, December 22nd, 1990. And here at that point, it's a little more sophisticated now, but at that point, here's the Packer game in a nutshell. It's halftime, and the entertainment for a pro football game is the local high school marching band. And they come out, and you don't really hear much. Just a little dinny sort of musical notes or something. And all of a sudden the announcer comes on and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're very concerned that the kids' lips are going to freeze to their instruments. So they're not going to perform. So for our halftime show today, why don't we all just sing Jingle Bells?" And we did. So since then, I've been up maybe a couple dozen times. With the season tickets, it's a little bit more flexibility, but as you will discover if you read the book, there have been many antics that have gone on during the course of my time going to games. And I recount instances from them. I recount instances from being in college. Just antics that take place, and so as time went on, I thought, geez, as years went by, and you have these conversations, like you could have this conversation, with anybody, and I would tell these stories, people get chuckle off them. They're like, "Wow, that's pretty funny." And so I thought, why not put it together in a book? I mean, it's a passion project. It's not intended to, make money, so to speak. But I'm really happy that I did it. Anybody who reads it, I think will think fondly of it, because they're memories that essentially were created with family. And so what we do is we carve out the 3 hours on a Sunday. It's on a Sunday, so typically most of us are off. We get a lot of food. We all put our jerseys on. My entire family room area is decked out for the entire season with jerseys and memorabilia and Lombardi frame, Bart Starr, and we just root for our team. And it's everybody's all in every Sunday.
I love it. Again, listening to him, it's the smile on my face. Tundra Tales, everybody. Mike, there's so many stories. I love how you call them antics. There's so many stories that just make that you're literally laughing out loud. I love the ticket story. I mean, that was my favorite season ticket. But tell me one or two that really just stick out to you. Like if they were going in the Rossi Hall of Fame, pick out a couple that you could share today with us.
Well, the one time we flew. Me and my brother we each have 3 kids, and we took our two oldest each. So he had 2, I had 2, and so it was 6 of us. We flew into Milwaukee, and it's a 2-hour drive. So we rented this big old Suburban, I think it was. We get in there, we got all our Packer gear on, and I was excited. We were all excited, and I'm cruising down. I think it's Route 90 there, and apparently I might have transgressed, some of the local speed ordinances, because at some point, one of Wisconsin's finest pulls me over, and so the state trooper, comes over to the car, and I tried to weave some story like, hey, listen, officer, like, I'm not used to this big car. I got a small little ride at home. And he just cut me off right in the middle. And he said, it has a speedometer, doesn't it? I thought for sure I was going to get with a ticket. But right at that point, my daughter says, look, Daddy, it's a car that lights up. And so he got a chuckle out of that, and he looked around and saw all our Packer gear, and he said, all right, well, listen, you got to slow down for me, and go Pack go. So so that's in the book. There's another one where I was in college and we're watching Monday Night Football, and my college roommate was a Redskins fan, and it was 1983, and the Redskins were, I think, Super Bowl champions the year before. They had a kicker. Their kicker, Mark Mosley, was a MVP. And they were huge favorites. And we're in this game, and we're watching on this black and white TV with rabbit ears, and it's going back and forth. And the Packers won 48-47. There was like 790 yards. There was 95 points. And so they won. And so what happened during the game, we had a real live fireplace. And up to that, we were kind of using it as a trash container. And someone who will remain anonymous, who was a Redskins fan, did not like the outcome and took that black and white TV and tossed it into the fireplace. So we had all this garbage in there, and we didn't. So it was Monday Night Football. So it started. Now it's like almost 12:30 or 1, And so we all go to bed. And we had a suite. So there was he and I and 2 other people. So there was 4 of us. And so like an hour later, apparently this TV, like whatever happened to it, ignited something in the fireplace, and all this garbage started burning. And so we're laying in our beds. We had a suite, and we had separate rooms, so the doors go, and smoke literally was coming underneath the door. So we open this thing up, and there's smoke everywhere, and we can't see, and we're trying to figure this thing out. And we bunk into each other, 2 of us, and both of us tried to balance ourselves on the mantle. And so on the mantle was a bunch of fireworks. We had acquired all these fireworks. And so I mean, it was like M80s, cherry. This is back in, early 80s. Cherry. And so we're smoking. And so we knocked like a dozen of these high-powered fireworks off and bottle rockets into the fire. And they started going off. Like, bam, boom, and we were diving like it was like we're in the middle of like war zone. We dove behind a couch. We knocked each other over. Now, meanwhile, somebody had pulled the fire alarm. Now the fire department's coming. The police department's coming. Security's coming. The RAs and everybody. And so they were so mad at us. And I think that they were really more mad at us because myself and my roommates could not stop belly laughing. So, needless to say, they boarded up our fireplace. We had to go in front of some committee, and we were lucky, I think, to still remain in school. So stuff like that happens. It's kind of organic, and it all connected to watching the Packer game.
And you're reading this, you're almost shaking your head like they almost sound made up, and they're true because the way, just the whole thing. But it always goes back to your family, Mike, again, and you talked about your Italian upbringing here in the Northeast. Your mom and dad were huge mentors and people in your life. And it's just beautiful to see that every story had a family member, and the trips and so many pictures, right? Pictures of your family, at the game together, and while you're you hear these stories of dads watching the game. They go in their cave, they're by themselves, they're cursing at the TV. This ain't that. This is you and your family enjoying something together, and a beautiful story.
There was a couple times the stories are in there in the 80s. I did go to a game by myself. One time I went to a game by myself. That's it. But I don't think that I've watched a game alone in 30 years.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be any fun, really, to be honest with you. So that's the fun of it, everybody. And then, and the thing about football is they play, and then, sometimes there's only three, if it's a Sunday to a Thursday game, but usually it's a week. There's a week in between. So you have all this time to commiserate about what went wrong and armchair quarterback and pretend you know what you're talking about and get ready for the next game. That's the anticipation of it is half the enjoyment.
I know we talked a little bit about it. And again, if you're watching the show live, jump in and say hello. Let us know where you're coming from, and certainly say hi to Dr. Rossi. But Mike, you wrote the book. Let's talk a little bit about the process. There's a lot of school leaders out there that do want to write a book. What was your process like in terms of putting it together and then getting it out there into people's hands?
So I drafted it first because I wanted, anybody that was going to have eyes on it. I wanted, as opposed to just being a concept, I wanted them to have a document to look at, even if they just said, okay, send me the first 3 chapters or something. So I wrote about it. It wasn't hard. I was just basically recounting true stories. So it's not like it was like a murder mystery where I was inventing characters so for me, and I've done a lot of publishing, but almost exclusively in academic journals. So this was a totally different avenue, if you will. And so I reached out to a few people. I think I contacted you about, how do you go from a draft to, what's in your hand there. And I started researching some editorial review professionals, if you will. Now, a lot of these individuals also will help you self-publish. This is a self-publishing work. And I got it in front of a couple of groups, if you will, and one individual that in particular last year that I thought gave me a lot of feedback. And from there, once I thought I had something a little bit more polished, I started researching groups or individuals, companies, organizations, whatever you want to call them, that might be able to get it from up the polished, Word document, if you will, to stepping me through writing, publishing it, getting it bound, getting it, creating a little website, getting it through the Amazon, I think it's called KDP process. So I went through that. It was about a year-long process. But I think the most important part for me was getting the feedback on the writing. I think I would recommend having a good editor who's going to give you quality feedback, is going to read every single word. Yeah. I think that's really important. And I discovered that not everybody will do that. Not everybody's reading. They'll build your website. They'll put your book on Amazon. And I discovered this the hard way, that even not everybody's reading it. So make sure that's my strongest piece of advice. When you get to that final stage and you are about to, make it available to the public, make sure that group that's doing that has an editor that's committed to, even if you have to pay more for it. So that was a rookie error on my part, which ultimately was corrected. But if I ever were to do it again, I would make sure that didn't happen.
Sure. And you can read the same page 10 times. You just don't see the error, where somebody else, they're good at, they just pluck the errors out and clean it up. And there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, here it is, friends. Tundra Tales. Again, you don't have to be a Packers fan to love this book. You don't have to be a football fan to love the book. But I felt like I was there with you, Mike, and congratulations. Have you sent it to the Packers?
I have. I
Okay.
sent it to Cliff Crystal, is the Packers official historian.
Okay.
So I sent it to him, and he acknowledged that he has it. So I've sent it to I sent it to Jerry Kramer, Hall of Famer. I've sent it to a couple of the more noteworthy podcasters. I'll tell you, I'm sure this is for any major sports teams. Like if you went for the Yankees or you said the Giants, there's a lot of people out there doing podcasts on major sports teams.
Sure.
And so it's just a couple of Google searches away. So I chose some of them. I've sent it to the Milwaukee Sentinel Journal newspaper. I sent it to the Green Bay Press Gazette. So I'm hoping that maybe it'll catch on. And I have season tickets. So we are going to go up for a couple of games, and I'm hoping to be a polite nuisance a little bit here and there. Maybe I'll take your advice about dropping up some copies off in a local eatery, and maybe they will, they will hand them out or sell a couple for me. But it's been fun. It's a passion project, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to talk with you today, and man, definitely a great read and a lot of fun. Yes. Mike, again, 37 years in education. You're 20th as superintendent. What's next for you, my friend?
Well, I've got, I still have another run in me. I just signed a new 5-year contract, so I'll be around at this place until at least 2029. We'll see what's happening there. As I mentioned to you, I started basketball refereeing because a big part of my journey professionally was coaching. And I coached basketball for 20 years. I was a head high school coach. I was a head college coach. I also coached my daughter and her travel team for several years. I played high school basketball. I played college basketball. And now I'm beginning to ref. I went to an IBO, International Association of Approved Basketball Officials, a camp at Albright College. I spent a weekend there. That was very educational and rewarding, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to start doing, this basketball season, probably 2-3 games a week when I can fit them around my schedule. So I want to do that. That's, it's fun. I know a little something about it, but it's a lot different than coaching. It's a lot different than coaching. I'll tell you that. When you're a coach, you have your team, you have your fans, you have your school behind you. When you're refereeing, it's you and your reffing partner, and everybody else hates you. Or at least every time you blow the whistle, at least half the people in the building hate you.
But so like you were saying, though, as a superintendent, right? Those things that are things that are going to happen in the game that you certainly know, a travel, a walk, a push. But it's kind of like a day of an educator of all these different things happening, and you need to respond to them in the appropriate manner. So it does kind of go hand in hand with our world as an education leader.
Definitely. And I think that I will benefit from my 37 years, and then 20 of them being a coach, and I'm learning a lot. I'm looking to do 9th grade JV, and maybe for a couple of years, and then maybe move to the varsity. So we'll see. But I'm just enjoying doing it, and it's good exercise. Keeps me sharp. And so that's kind of the next phase for me as a complementary piece to being a superintendent.
I love it. It is good exercise. It is a de-stressor from your day job. You're running up to 4 miles a game. So Good for you, Mike. And again, just congratulations on the book. Really excited for you. Let's get to rapid fire, Mike. These are quick questions. You got to blow the whistle right away. Are you ready?
Sure.
Here we go. Last book you read.
Remembering the Berry by Anthony Pipparata, and it's about a guy from New Jersey who played in the NFL and Major League Baseball in the 20s and 30s, and he's the only individual ever to umpire the World Series and referee the NFL championship game in the same year.
Wow.
His name is Charlie Berry. I just read it. And it's my good friend, Anthony Pipparata, who was my mentor.
Wow. That's awesome. Last movie you saw?
Last movie I saw was, what was that called? It was the new one with Tom Cruise. Yeah, the new Tom Cruise one. It was okay. We watch a lot of shows. We don't do a lot of movies, but we watch a lot of shows.
Last concert you went to?
Rolling Stones.
Yeah, baby. Favorite dish?
Lasagna and French fries.
That's an interesting combination. Favorite place to travel besides Green Bay?
Any beach, anywhere. We'll take it.
Yeah, beautiful. Favorite singer?
Jerry Garcia.
If you're going to the bar to sing karaoke, what's your song?
I am not singing karaoke, and I haven't been to a bar in 20 years.
If you weren't in education and you weren't playing for the Packers, what would you be in?
I would be coaching full time.
Yeah.
I would be a full-time basketball coach if I probably would have done that if that were an option 37 years ago.
A pet peeve of yours?
Negative people. I try to avoid them at all costs.
One word to describe the Packers.
Passion.
When you're at Lambeau, you feel fill in the blank.
At home.
Oh, a recent victory.
I would say, personally.
Yeah, or professionally, either one.
I would say being rewarded with a long-term brand new contract. That was a great sign of support from the trustees. So I have a 5-year deal, and at this point in my career, that's very satisfying.
Yeah. Well, and superintendents, 3 maybe, 4, but 5, yes.
That's the maximum you can get in Jersey anyway.
A positive sign there. Good for you. At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I feel fill in the blank.
Excited for the weekend.
One thing you are curious about.
Will Jordan Love win the MVP this year?
Long walk or gym workout?
Long walk.
Beach, pool, or lake?
Beach.
He loves the beach. Deep dish or New York style pizza?
New York style.
There you go. Surviving or thriving?
Thriving.
Mike Rossi, everybody. The book is on Amazon. Mike, if people want to get in touch with you to ask you about the book, ask you about the Packers, things like that, how could they get in touch with you?
I would say the best way would be to email me. It's mrossi@lvhs.org. Stands for Lenape Valley High School. That's no problem. But I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. But those are the best ways. If they wanted to, they can call the office at Lenape Valley, 973-347-7600. Be happy to speak. Well, I pride myself. I get back to everyone, no matter what.
Yeah. And that has been my experience through all the different things we've done together so far. And that is certainly accurate. Mike, I love quotes. How about a quote to end this with?
Do what you can with what you have where you are.
Ooh, say that one more time.
Do what you can with what you have where you are. And that's Teddy Roosevelt.
Wow. I like that. Perfect. This is Mike Rossi, friends from New Jersey, my paisan. Again, check out his book on Amazon, Tundra Tales. Football is starting here. He even got Todd Whitaker on the back recommending the book. So kudos there. Certainly want to give a shout out to our friend Dr. Rob Gilbert as well, bringing us together. So, Mike, I wish you the best of luck and have a great school year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's keep in touch, Andrew.
Absolutely. Lenape Valley, check them out. Tundra Tales, check them out. Dr. Rossi, you are a star in education. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Have a great one, everyone.
All right, Mike, stay on the line a second.
Okay.
We are going to sign off here on the podcast. If I can help you with anything, don't hesitate to reach out at Andrew Murata 21 on Twitter. Keep rolling, friends. Keep surviving and thriving. Go Packers.
Go Packers.